Hello, this is Virtual Worm tutorial number 14. In this tutorial I just want to cover basically some emergency actions should you find yourself working with the model and things seem completely like they're not behaving the way they should. One thing I mentioned much earlier in an earlier tutorial was that if you accidentally do not have emulate numpad selected and you start pressing the number keys, as I mentioned in the layer tutorial, if we add this header, we can see the layers here. And what happens is if you start pressing the num keys, you're actually going to just start selecting individual layers. So if you hit the numbers 1 through 0, you're going to select one of the layers 1 through 10 here, respectively. And so what might happen is other things might disappear. So you might press the 3 button, and then suddenly this is all you see is the muscles, and you think something has gone wrong. And then you might press Alt-H to have everything come back, but Alt-H, nothing's hidden, it's just that everything else is on a different layer. So if you've hit the numbers and things are flying in and out of the scene, they're disappearing or popping up and so forth, try hitting tilde to select all the layers again. It may just be that you've selected an individual layer. I'm going to right click and then select no header to hide that header again. Now another thing is that I wanted to mention before is that the way I actually navigate up and down these is by scrolling these cell and grouping lists. You can actually scroll with a scroll wheel, if you have it, inside the list itself, and you actually scroll kind of more slowly, and then if you actually put your cursor right over the scroll bar here, you can scroll much more quickly. Same thing in the groups list. You can scroll very quickly if you put your cursor over the scroll bar, and then inside the window you scroll a little bit more slowly. If you do not have a scroll functionality, I just want to mention that you can actually press Alt and then left click inside here, and then we can actually drag. And so unfortunately Blender does not have just a normal scroll bar in this version. In the newer version of Blender, Blender 2.5, you can just left click once and then just start dragging that around. But for this current version, you have to hit Alt left click and then drag, or use your scroll function in either of these two places. So one thing that might happen to you while you're navigating through these windows, these are actually called outliner windows in Blender, you might find that something happens and everything just seems weird and expanded like this. And what's probably happened is you've hit the plus key or something to that effect. And what this does is just expands all of the information for each of these objects in the Blender file. So a simple way to get back is just to hit the minus key and a couple times, and this will actually pop everything back into its highest hierarchy view, in which we're just looking at groups and not individual cells. Same thing over here in the cell listings. If we were to hit the plus a couple of times, we would expand out all the little 3D graphics properties of each of these objects. But let's just press minus a few times. If you press too many times, you'll just collapse everything down into the scene. Let's press plus one more time from the scene, and now we'll be back to where we want to be and be able to select individual cells. Another thing that you might run into while you're working with this is if you happen to by accident have your cursor inside the function button window and hit the escape key, you'll start to see all this code underlying the GUI, and you don't really want to see that. You want to get the script running again. So in order to do that, we just press Alt and then P, and that should run the script again and get it started. What that will do, unfortunately, is actually also reset the entire window. And all the visualization properties will have changed. So if you have anything sitting opaque or something like that, and then you hit escape and then Alt-P, you're actually going to reset all of the visualization options. So just be wary of that. And one more thing is that Blender does have an undo function. So you probably want to press Control+Z or Command+Z, depending on your platform. If something happens and you move something or something seems out of place in the 3D model, you can try hitting Command+Z or Control+Z to undo the last step, and that should get you back to where you were. Okay, see you next time.